for the YouTube subscribers. Well, subscribe already. Hit the fucking like button and subscribe before I knock your ass out, man. I ain't fucking with you, man.
UFC Vegas 51, back in Vegas after UFC 273 in Jacksonville. Fun card. It was a deep card. We had some good fights. Maybe one of the best fights we have saw in a long time. Definitely of the year. Another profitable card for us, guys. Another profitable card for myself and clients and free video viewers. 3-1 on all fights. We'll discuss last week's pay-per-view card and then go over this card. Not the greatest card, guys. Not the greatest card. I will have a small volume card for my clients this week. Not a ton of value out there. How about Burns and Chimaev? We got to start with that fight, of course. One of the better fights of the year. It's a little sick today, guys, so just bear with me. It turned out to be just a straight brawl. A straight brawl, and Chimaev got tested finally. He got tested. You got to think, I did mention it as well. Burns, obviously the training camp I brought up, probably the best training camp he's ever had. One of the toughest training camps I personally ever saw. I've seen a ton of training camps over my time, and this is probably one of the toughest ones that I personally saw, at least that was documented. It was a huge step up. Going to number 2, number 1 in the world. He was fighting guys that weren't even ranked. Right, I do think the Chinese fighter may have been 15 or in the top, 14, 15, something in that range. But it's just such a big level jumping up to a guy like Gilbert Burns, and he showed his toughness. He showed that he could have won that fight. It was a close fight. I do agree Chimaev should have won the fight. 29-28, perfect scoring, but he had him rock several times. So, Chimaev, yes, great fighter, and he could be a title contender, but he's not the boogeyman. He's not the guy that, some people think. He's not Superman. He is beatable. And I do think if he fights Usman in his next fight, I do think Usman can beat him. Why? Because, one, Chimaev has shown he can get rocked. We saw Usman's improvement in the striking game, and Chimaev's not going to be able to wrestle Usman. So I think there is some lines already out. I do see Usman being favored in the fight, which I do agree. But I do think Chimaev will be a champion one day. Will it be his next fight? Maybe not. I would love to see him fight Colby, though. I'd love to see him fight Colby first before he gets to Usman. That will be a great fight. I'd love to see that happen. Personally, that was my only loss on the card. I took Chimaev by TKO or KO, plus 110. And I thought maybe it would be a later finish. And he had a chance to finish it late. He had a couple chances to finish that fight late. I thought it was going to come, but Burns just showed his toughness there. Tons of heart from both of the guys. Can't wait to see them both fight next. Burns, not sure what's going to be for Burns next. Not too sure what will be for Burns, but that will be interesting to see. Maybe Sean Brady. I think that would be a good one. Volkanovski, he looked amazing. In there. Pound for pound right now, in my opinion, the best fighter in the UFC, right there with Usman. And Israel not too far behind. I had Volkanovski plus 175 for my clients. TKO, KO finish, and he got it. I just thought he would be a lot... I was going back and forth between the decision and the TKO. I looked into it a little bit more, and I just thought he was going to be a lot quicker, and then the power advantage was so much on the side of Volkanovski here, is I had to take the value. Tons of value, right? I think that it was minus 125 maybe for it to go to decision. So I just saw a lot of value to get his first finish, and time again, Volkanovski's been talking about the finish, and he got it. He's been talking about that finish, that he wanted that big finish in a big fight, and he got it. And I did think that value was too much to pass up on, and we were all over that to hit that. And we also won a 2-fight parlay. It was a round parlay. We were on the Sterling and Jan fight to go over 2.5, and the Dern fight to go over 2.5 at plus 119. Great value there. And speaking of the Sterling fight, wow. That's probably the only side I was wrong on the card, was the Sterling fight. I did think Jan would win. Did I bet Jan? No, because of the price. But For anyone that bet Sterling out there, congrats to you. I mentioned at the end of the video that I wouldn't be surprised if Sterling or Burns won the fight. And I wouldn't call you crazy if you threw a little bit on it. And they showed it was worth to put, a little small unit play on Sterling or Burns. So hopefully you did cash in there. It was a close fight. I think it could have went either way. I don't think there was a robbery either way if either guy won. Some people had Jan winning. Some people had Sterling. Obviously that ground control time was impressive from Sterling. But hey, I'm not going to say much. I think if there is a rematch, I do think Jan wins. But we'll see when the time comes. Let's get into the weekly update, guys. Weekly update, all sports. 32-9 client run, guys. This is a 32-9 client run currently. This is a few months now, and it's 78%. 88 and 45 longer term. 66%, guys. Plus 53.5 units in the UFC. Find me a higher documented in the market, and I will be pleased to see it. PGA profitable Masters could have been better, but I did jump on the third day outright on Scotty Scheffler. Wish I took him at the beginning of the tournament. I did not, but got him at a 3-day plus 110 on Saturday. Couple hit some other nice plus money on Smith, top 10 plus 170, top 20 on Fitzpatrick plus 150. One of best bets. I had Kopeka. I had Brooks Koepka, and I was surprised he didn't play well, but we did hit DJ top 20. 7 of the last 11 profitable cards in the PGA, plus 69.2 units in the prop market. 67% best bets long term, guys. That's 3 years. 3 years. NBA, 66% NBA regular season. The NBA regular season has come to an end, guys, and we had a 66% season plus 15.5 units. Very happy with that. Very happy with the winning percentage there. Now we are into the NBA playoffs. We'll have some futures going. I do have a futures on the Suns right now, and also a couple others. Clients got that already. We did start 0-1. 0-1 in the playoffs. I was on Clippers plus 3, and of course they lost by 5. They were up by 8 in the fourth quarter in that game. Up by 8 in the fourth quarter. Towns goes out on foul trouble, and somehow they won by 5. Unbelievable. Unbelievable win for Minnesota. I'm happy. I'm happy for Minnesota, though. Well deserved, I guess, if you want to say. MLB, a great start to the MLB. We just had a win with the Dodgers. We're 6-1 start in the MLB. Its graphic is not updated here, but we are 6-1 start in the MLB. And let's look at that NFL reminder. NFL reminder from last season. SystemSportsCapping.com, guys. SystemSportsCapping.com to get all my clients' plays. Like, comment. It helps me out a lot, guys. Thank you for that. Let's hear from my friend Meredith before we get into this card.
Guys, Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Shop around for the best prices, guys. Like I always say, shop around for the best prices. Have multiple books. I can't stress that enough. I have 5-6 books. I have books in the U.S. I have books in Canada. So I have multiple books going. Always try to find the best price. That's the way to help you profit. Let's get right into it. Not the best card, guys. Not the best card. But we'll get into these fights here. It won't be a big client card from myself this week. Luque minus 180 versus Bilal Muhammad plus 155. A rematch between these two. However, It was a while back. I don't look too much into it. It was like 2015. Both guys have improved. Both guys are different fighters. And Luque got the KO in round 1 back in 2015. Belal has improved a ton. Cardio is great. He can take a shot from what I have seen, and his wrestling is solid. He's well-rounded, Belal Muhammad. However, I just don't think he's great at anything, in my opinion. I would say maybe his cardio is great, but I just don't see him being any of his skills being great. I just think he's well-rounded, in my opinion, and his best attribute probably would be his wrestling. His striking has improved, though, right? With Luque, I think he's a great striker, and I think he has a great submission game all around. So the concern here with Luque will obviously be the takedown defense versus Belal. I think that's Belal's path to victory. He's not going to want to stand and bang with Luque. He's going to have to approach this fight similar to the Stephen Thompson fight. He was able to control him, and he was able to take him down. And it's going to have to be similar here. And can he do it? Sure. But Luque is just very dangerous off his back, and he showed that against in his last fight, right? He showed that against Chiesa, and Chiesa brought him down, and he got caught. He got caught in submission, right? So that's what's going to be interesting to see here. If Belal can take down Luque, which I think he should be able to, is Luque going to be able to get up, and is he going to be able to submit him off his back? So that's the question here, right? If Belal decides to stand and bang, I think it could be a long night for him. I think Belal's going to have to mix up the wrestling, the grappling against the cage to have a chance here. I was on the Stephen Thompson side last time against Belal, which I do regret. I didn't think Belal's wrestling was going to be that good. But it has improved. I think it always was good. I just didn't think it was going to be able to hold them down here. And I think Luque's takedown defense isn't great. It's not terrible, though. And I do think he can get up. We've seen Chiesa be able to take him down. It's just Luque's submission game, I think, is going to be in play here. I do think it's going to be in play here, and it's going to be a threat. And will Muhammad want to take him down, right? There's value here with Muhammad at plus 155. I just don't see it. I think Luque gets this done. I don't like the minus 180. I won't be betting minus 180 straight up. But I may fit into my 2-fight parlay this weekend for clients. It's just the minus 180 is not great. And it is tough to call an outcome here. I do think both guys are durable. I do think this could go all 5. I would lean for Luque with the later TKO, maybe submission. But I won't be betting an outcome here, guys. I won't be betting an outcome unless I can get a very juicy price on the submission. But, yeah, it's going to be Luque for me on the side. I don't love this fight, guys. I don't love this card in general. But I do think Luque has the better skills in this fight. I think he's just more skilled, like I mentioned, on the feet. He has a better submission game. I lean Muhammad with the wrestling and maybe the cardio. So if this gets into the 4th or 5th round, how will Luque look? We'll find out maybe, right? But I'm gonna lean Luque here, and that'll be my play for video purposes to win the fight. Next fight is interesting. Co-main event versus 2 guys that were fighting on Dana White's Contender Series. A couple tough names here. Borello, Brazilian, plus 120 versus the Russian Omega Mazeav, minus 140. It's a tough fight to call, guys. Very tough. Both guys debuting, right? So when 2 guys are debuting, I don't see a clear-cut path to victory for either guy. It's going to be a fight I'll be laying off. I don't really know why it's a co-main event, to be honest. I watched both their fights back. Both seem to may have a good future here in the UFC, but just a tough fight to handicap. Prior to the Brazilians' KO win last time out on the Contender Series, a lot of fights to the decision here, where the Russian fighter has a ton of TKOs, submissions, great ground, and probably similar, Dagestani style type of fighter. He's going to want to try to get this to the ground and submit the guy. Borello, big guy. I don't know if he's going to be able to keep him down there, but, I'm going to lean the Russian fighter here just due to the wrestling capability and possible submission game. I do think maybe he can get this to the ground enough to try to control the ground game and maybe possibly find a submission. But if he doesn't get the submission, maybe just win due to the takedowns. I do think the Brazilian fighter is the better striker on the feet. But if I had to bet this fight, I'm going to lean the Russians' way. Just the minus 140 is not great. But that'll be my play for video purposes. This will not make my client card this weekend. Next fight here. I'm excited to see about this fight. I'm actually very excited to see how Miguel Baez, the one-time hot prospect, I don't know if he still is, but they threw him into the wolves maybe a little too quick. I just want to see how he bounced back off 2 losses here. They threw him against Ponzinibbio, which is a very difficult fight, and he showed up in that fight, but Ponzinibbio, I think, fought maybe one of his best fights in a long time. And then Chaos Williams, he got caught. I think he was winning that fight against Chaos Williams, but he got caught later in that third round, and Chaos, his hands are steel. So Baez has shown a few times now that he's a bit chinny, right? Matt Brown rocked him a bit, and then Chaos Williams finished him. So, Baez has flashes in those fights. I do think going into the fight, he's a more well-rounded guy. Maybe not in the Ponzinibbio fight, but in the Chaos Williams fight, definitely. He's a better MMA fighter, but Chaos Williams has the power. And Chaos Williams continues to improve, right? So, in those fights, in the Chaos Williams, is definitely the better all-around fighter, and I think he's a better fighter in this Falallo fight, too. But the minus 180 scares me a bit because Falallo is very similar to Chaos Williams. He has a ton of power in those hands. And if Baez gets caught, he can go night-night as well. But just with Baez, there's a lot more tools, a lot more paths to victory here. I think if he tries to get to the ground, he definitely has a submission game. But I do think he's improving. I do think he finds a way here. I don't love the minus 180, but again, I think he does have a path. Very tough to call an outcome here. I would lean a finish. Here, but Falallo looked okay in his debut against Pereira. He put up a good fight, maybe a better fight than most thought he would. But I just don't like what I've seen him from prior fights. I watched back some of his fights, even for this card, but for that Pereira fight, because I was on Pereira in that fight, he was in other organizations, and it just wasn't that impressive. I just think if he doesn't catch you with a big shot, he doesn't have many tools to beat you. So I'm going to go with Baez here to avoid 3 in a row. That's another reason why I like Miguel here, just to avoid 3 losses in a row, right? When you get 3 losses in a row, you start looking at cut status. Right, he's still young. I don't think they would cut him if he loses this fight. But there is an opportunity, for being cut, or he'll definitely be moved down big time. In his fights if he loses this one and gets caught. But yeah, I like Miguel to bounce back here. It may make my client card in some way. This is an ugly one, guys. The next 2 fights are fairly ugly. 2 more fights left here. Bruna Silva minus 420 versus Yanan plus 330. This is a crazy line in my opinion for 2 bottom of the division girls fighting, and you're giving one girl minus 420. Silva isn't a 4-1 better fighter than Yanan in my opinion. Yeah, Yanan's not great. I won't have any value. I don't see there's that much value with her at plus 330 just because she hasn't shown me anything in the UFC. But just this price, right, is just tough for bottom-of-the-barrel women's MMA fighters. This is just a big pass. Stay away. Why do you have to bet it? Don't try to be cute and put it in your parlays, Silva. It's just an all-around pass for me. I won't be betting this card. I won't get too much into these girls either. It's just a big pass for me. Sabatini minus 450 versus Lemaire plus 350. The Canadian is back after a little long layoff after losing his first fight against Minner. Sorry, I don't know why I said Miller. He lost his first fight by submission. Wasn't a smart game plan there. Sabatini, right? Good start to the UFC. I like this kid. I like Sabatini. 3-0 in his UFC career compared to LeMay 0-1. Mentioning that Minner loss. You know, again, this line's a bit high. I think it's a bit high, maybe 350. I would like to see it at Sabatini. So I don't see any value there. And, you know, obviously Sabatini's game plan, get the fight to the ground, right? Lemaire can fight. He can wrestle, though. He can wrestle. So is he going to be able to get this fight to the ground and find a submission? That's his game plan. That's his path to victory. I don't know if he's going to be able to find it. Lemaire can wrestle. We'll see. We'll see, right? Lemaire got the fight to the ground against Minner, and he got caught, right? So if I think the game plan for Lemaire should be to fight on the feet. I do think he has the better striking than Sabatini, not by a ton. We just know Sabatini's not a great striker, right? He looks to fight to grapple, try to wrestle, get to the ground, get the submission. And if he can do that, he's going to get the submission. There may be some value at the submission prop. You can probably get in the plus 200s. I think there's some value there with Sabatini, but you're not going to fight. You're not going to bet this minus 450. You're not going to put this in a parlay. You're going to try to find an outcome here, and it would probably be a submission win. But, you know, sometimes when you go away for a year and a half, you know, the Canadian Fighter may have worked on a ton here. He may have worked on a lot. And if he can keep this fight on the feet, I think he has a shot, but I'm not willing to pay the price. Sabatini's been looking great at 3-0 in the UFC so far, so I do think he finds a way here. It's just probably not going to make this my card. If it does, it'll be a small unit play on the submission. But I haven't not bet this fight as of yet, and I technically don't have a ton of fights to bet on this card, guys. It's going to be one of those cards that I'm not going to invest heavily in. And, you know, I bet 6-7 other sports, so I'm able to do that. I feel bad for the guys that just bet UFC, right? There's some guys out there that say they just bet UFC, and I don't know how well that works, right? How much are you going to profit long term? You got to be able to be adaptable. You got to be able to bet other sports, and that's what I do here with system capping. We bet up to 7 different sports. That will do it, guys. That will do it for this card, weaker card like I mentioned, but maybe we'll get some good fights. You never know. Sometimes when the fights aren't great on paper or the fights aren't great from a betting standpoint, we have some good fights. You never know. That'll do it, guys. Good luck on the card. Good luck this weekend in general. Like I always say, bet smart and know your limits. Take care.